culture shock. First is the honeymoon, second is flight, third is fight, fourth is filter, and fifth is flex. It's not something where suddenly the au pair wakes up one day and says, I'm going through culture shock. I mean, it could be through subtle ways. I mean, the families, you may recognize your au pair is sleeping a lot. That's a form of flight. They might be eating a lot more, or they might be not eating. That is also a way of escaping, a way of not dealing with the pain. And this is natural. I mean, most people going from one culture to another experience these phases of cultural adjustment. And families, think about it, even if you have not been abroad or experienced a new culture, think about what it's been like to move from one neighborhood to another, or from one job to another. You may find yourself going through these same similar phases. You come into a new place and everything's great and you're so excited about it. And then suddenly you get in and, why am I here? Maybe I should have stayed at my old job or stayed in my old neighborhood, and you'll find yourself, it'll take time to get adjusted and to feel more comfortable.
So they feel comfortable in talking to you about some of their personal problems. They're going to be homesick, it's natural, and the sooner they get over that, then the quicker they can be more effective and feel comfortable. And on the one hand, bring them really into as part of the family very quickly, but also on the other hand, to get them out at the same time. It's not really contradictory, because it's also helps them get excited about they're in a new environment and there's a lot to see, and to start mixing with other people. And we did a few things. For instance, we had a little barbecue. Our au pair came in the summer, so we had a barbecue, had some friends around, and she immediately was able to meet other people, some of our friends and so forth. And our friends, took an immediate interest to the au pairs, and that I think helps.
You want a cheeseburger, Greta?
Yeah, thanks.
You're a double cheeseburger.
Au pairs, when you first arrive into the United States, we first call that the honeymoon stage. Everything is just wonderful. I mean, finally you meet the family. You are so excited. You get to the house, you see the room. Everybody's so nice to you. The children are listening to you. And you just think everything's great, just like a honeymoon.
The family that I've come to are just fantastic, and they threw their arms around me as though they'd known me for years.
And just like in marriage, as with the au pair program, the honeymoon doesn't last. And for some au pairs, you may feel that the honeymoon lasts one day, and for others it may be 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But once the honeymoon is over, you go through the first phase of culture shock, which I define as being the flight stage. Suddenly you realize that you're in the U.S. and you think, oh my God, what am I doing here? What have I done? I've left my home, I've left my family, I've left my boyfriend, my girlfriend, and you think, I need to get away, I need to flee, I need to take the flight back home. And some of you may even find yourselves calling the airlines and checking for the next flight home.
I would lived away from home before, but you never really imagine how it is to be homesick, and you have to stay whatever happened, and you don't want to go home either because you made it over here, and you don't show the other people you don't want to, couldn't stay there. So.
But most of you will realize, wait a minute, I'm committed to being here, and also I can't go back. I mean, I've just had all these going away parties for me, and if I went back, I would prove to my parents that they were right. I was crazy to be coming here. So you realize, okay, I'm here, so I'm gonna stay, but I'm gonna fight every minute of it. And that's the next stage, is fight, where you are here, and what you start to do is compare everything to back home. And suddenly now home is just wonderful and great, and Mama and Papa, and how you love being there, and how these Americans, they're so crazy. They're always in a rush, and you call this bread? This isn't bread. In my country, I have real bread. And the water tastes terrible. I mean, it tastes like a swimming pool.
First, when I came here, America was great. It was very big for me. Everything was bigger than Norway, but I liked America. People was very friendly, said hello, called me sir, how are you, and all that stuff. And I like America, but after a while, when you get used to it, you are like a part of America. You see how busy this country really are, how busy the parents, the children, and it's very different from Norway that way. They don't know their neighbors. They don't get visitors as often as Norway. Their relative lives far away. American people moved a lot.
You love to sit and talk about the Americans and especially how we raise our children. I mean, what is this? We ask the 3-year-olds, do you want to drink apple juice or do you want to drink orange juice? Do you want to wear this dress or do you want to wear that dress? Do you want to go to the park or do you want to go to the movies? And you think, why are they asking these people? These are little kids. Why are they asking them these questions? They should just tell them what they should do. And one of the things that it's important to remember is as Americans, we value a great sense of being an individual. And so we raise our children from a very young age by learning how to make choices on their own. Because in order to survive in the United States, the society is much more structured around being independent, being able to take care of yourself. I mean, if you look at how many words we have that begins with self-reliance, self-esteem, self-confidence. We're always talking about ourselves.
Okay, we're going to have some milk with the eggs or apple juice.
Our attitudes are drastically different than most European attitudes as it relates to childcare. We're much more liberal than most European families are with their children. There are a lot of reasons, or at least we could give reasons for that we want our children to have the freedom to make a lot of choices early on in their age groups. But the au pairs have to be ready to deal with that and expect that it won't be quite as easy as dealing with children that they may be babysitting today, if that's what they do. That's not to say that it won't be easy for them to blend into the culture, but it will be different initially.
And so during this fight stage, you'll find yourselves making a lot of comparisons. And families, it's important to keep in mind that the au pair is going to perhaps, you will think, nitpick on a lot of things about how you're living your life. I had a family who said the au pair and her got into a discussion over using cloth diapers versus, plastic diapers or Pampers. And the family, fortunately, was able to recognize that the au pair, that it wasn't that she was just picking on diapers, but there was something else going on for her, that she was feeling very frustrated because culture shock, how it occurs is by the loss of familiar cues. Suddenly, things that were so easy for you, you did without even thinking, going to the post office, driving a car, going into a restaurant. Suddenly, these things become a great sense of anxiety for you. Au pairs have come and asked, what does it mean when you go to the grocery store and they say paper or plastic? I mean, do they mean credit card or real money? So when you walk into a fast food restaurant and you go up to order, and you'll even find in terms of choices how you can't just say I want a hamburger and french fries and Coke. You need to indicate what size hamburger or fries, and what kind. Do you want cheese or no cheese? And then at the end of making your order, you'll be asked for here to go. And for us as Americans, we know exactly what they're talking about. However, these are some of those subtle parts of our culture, things that mom and dad have not told us. Well, when you go into a restaurant, you know what for here to go means. But as an au pair, the families may not think necessarily to tell you that for here to go means, do you want to eat your food here or do you want to take your food out? And what you'll find is there will be so much within this new culture that you're experiencing that really you're going to just learn by being here and with time. I would say the fight phase of culture shock will last maybe for up to 2 months, 3 months. It all depends, it all varies depending on if this was your first time leaving home. It depends on just your adjustment to your family. Culture shock follows a U-curve, and the honeymoon is at the top part of the curve, and the flight stage is the next point, and then you've got the fight, which is really the lowest. I mean, you're going to feel the most perhaps depressed at that point. You'll find yourself writing letters back home. You'll run to the post office or run to the mailbox and just get a letter from home, and you'll eat it up. You'll read it over and over and over again. You'll find yourself craving certain foods.
Well, after Christmas I was very homesick. When nothing really was going on, it was dark outside, it was kind of boring, everything happens every day. I started to be homesick, very homesick. I missed my mother, my friends, but that's normal. All my friends have the same reaction, and no, it's better already. The summer is coming and things is going on.
One of the things that au pairs even notice is their body, for the female au pairs, is your bodies are going through the adjustment, and you find your menstrual cycle may be off, and au pairs get alarmed about that and rush to the doctor. I mean, you're going through mental and physical adjustment, and so it's important to try to really remember first why you came here. Think about what are the reasons that you first made the commitment to be here and be a participant in the AUPAIR Homestay program. And to ask questions. I know you're very shy perhaps in the beginning, and you don't want to come off stupid or, well, you know, maybe this is something that wouldn't be appropriate to ask. But the families will always say to us, you know, I wish I knew. I wish I knew that that was a problem for the au pair, or that the au pair misunderstood. It's important for you au pairs to ask questions. I mean, your family, if you're not happy, then they know that you're not going to be good for their children, and their children are very important to them. So whatever it takes to make you happy, if they can do it, they will. But you need to let them know. If it means that you really just don't like the food that they're making, well, you need to be eating. And so it's important for maybe you to go to the grocery store when the host mother or the host father goes grocery shopping, and you buy things that, or maybe you make a meal for yourself. Or we've had families who one day a week they say it's our French night or it's our Irish night, and they cook with the au pair a meal that the au pair chooses.
The George and I have tried to cook, I guess, about 4 or 5 times, and every time they're delicious. But when we're always finished and we kind of put these ring cakes together, that is not the way. My mother would laugh if she saw what this looked like, because this is not how it looks like. And I said, I don't care, it tastes good.
After the fight phase, the next phase of culture shock is then filter. And filter takes maybe, again, this is after a month, after 2 months, but think of when you look into a camera and you see a lens, and for some things that you'll see start to become in focus, they become clearer to you, whereas some other things may still be fuzzy. You may still not understand the reasons why things are done the way they are, or how we communicate with one another. However, you are starting to accept some of the ways here, not like the fight phase where you're really just placing a lot of judgment and